Hey, what's up, business owner? Welcome back. Today we have with us Mike Ciorrocco, better known as C-Roc. That's what we're going to call him because his last name is too hard to pronounce. C-Roc is a motivator, facilitator, dynamic public speaker, and a fierce friend and coach. At his core, he's a grinder, just a guy who had a fire lit in his belly at an early age. That fire has led him to inspire others to see the greatness inside of themselves using past life experience to fuel that fire. He has spoken in front of thousands of real estate agents, showing them how to grow their business, not only via traditional marketing methods, but also using outside the box digital and social media marketing. He dives deep into his past during these talks to show how you can feed off good and bad experiences. His forthcoming book is titled, What Are You Made Of? That's what his hat says. If you're watching the video, C-Roc lives in Ocean City, Maryland with his wife, Jennifer, and their two kids, Nicholas and Sophia. So that is C-Roc. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. What's going on today?
What's up, Paul? Glad to be here. Excited to be here. And I hope that bio wasn't too long.
It's not too long. I was talking to another guest just before this. Bios, they don't look that long on paper. And then you start reading them. And when you're the guest, you're like, okay, is he going to stop? When's he going to stop? That seems kind of long. But on paper, it's literally 4 lines. But it goes forever when you're on the other side of the mic. So all relevant information to kind of set the story for what we're going to dive into today. But before we dive into all that good stuff, first question I ask everybody is, what is your ideal view of ultimate freedom?
My ideal ultimate view of ultimate freedom is doing what you want to do and being able to stack paper. So bottom line is that doing what I want to do, that I'm passionate about, and being able to pay the bills and make money to help other people with it.
Well said. And I think that's a caveat. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to make money, even though everyone else might tell you it's not okay because they just want to be mediocre and live in the middle and do nothing exciting. So when you are able to make that income and then impact more people, like you said, you're really able to compound the effects of whatever you're doing that is your passion. So love it. Just like most of my interviews, I want to dive into 2 things. One, how your journey can inspire listeners, which is ironic because that's what you do every day, using people's past journeys, good and bad, to really make a difference. And then 2, how your expertise can help our listeners. So how did your whole entrepreneur journey start at a young age to get to where you are today?
Well, long story long. No, I'm just joking with you. I'll get to it. Listen, everybody has a story. And I believe this, and I'm getting reminded of it, and it's being reinforced every single day. Everybody has a story that can inspire millions of people. And the problem is people aren't sharing their story because really about 4 reasons. One is that they feel like they're embarrassed by their story, something that happened to them, traumatic or just an embarrassing thing about their family. They may just think that their story is ordinary and it won't really impress anyone. That's another thing. Also, they may think that nobody cares about their story. They just feel like, why would I tell anybody this? It's not going to, make a difference. And the last one is the big one. They underestimate the power of their story to be able to inspire millions of people, really millions, if they get the word out. And matter of fact, if you share your story and inspire one person, it's worth it. So my story began when I was 11 years old. I came from a broken household, just like probably a lot of your listeners. Never knew my parents together. Always did the every other weekend thing. And when I was 8 years old, I decided to move into my dad's house. I broke my mom's heart. I was sold on bells and whistles, the waterbed, your own room, a pool, a puppy, vacations, et cetera, et cetera. And I bought into it, man. And I sacrificed my mom, her being upset with moving in with my dad and his new wife. So fast forward 3 years later, a lot of emotional, not physical, but emotional and psychological abuse. I'd had enough. I didn't know the word culture at that age, but I knew that that environment was not conducive to happiness or growth. And I had to get out. So I told my mom, I got to get out of here. Every time she'd bring me back to my dad's, my stomach would be upset. She'd say, what's the matter with you? And I didn't share it with her until one moment I just had enough. And she filed court papers. I came home from school one day at my dad's house. He said, get in your room. He had a legal envelope in his hand. And I went in my room. I was walking on eggshells already as it was in that household. And I went to the room and sat there and just waited. My stomach was in knots. 11-year-old kid, mind you. 31 years ago, by the way. I'm 42 now. And he came in and said, this says you want to move back with your mom. Are you sure you want to do that? Do you know your mom's not that well off? And, we didn't, my mom wasn't that well off. We had a house, probably $30,000 house, no air conditioning. It was an old house, but we went on vacations where we just drove to the beach, to the shore, and our suitcases were black trash bags. I guess we were, lucky enough to go on vacation, but we didn't have a lot. But we didn't really know, but he reminded me of that. And he said, listen, here you have vacations. We go out to eat whenever you want. You have all the stuff that you want. And what's the matter? Why aren't you happy? And, listen, my dad was my hero. He had a masonry business, a block laying and brick laying business, very successful, always had $100 wad of bills in his pocket, a wad of $100 bills. And I looked up to him for that. And it wasn't about the money or the paper, or the greed. It was about the things that money got us. And as a kid, I realized that. But I was willing to get rid of that to go into a better culture. So I told him, yeah, I want to move. And he said, okay. So he took out the $100 bills, crumpled one up, threw it at me and said, here, you're going to need this when you're living on the streets with your mother one day. From that moment, now this 11-year-old kid being told that, I was crushed. My hero crushed me and basically gave up on me at that moment. But besides feeling crushed, I knew that I couldn't be the only one that's gone through this. Somebody else has been given up on. Somebody else's fathers let them down and just totally gave up on them. And I didn't feel alone at that moment. All of a sudden, I felt this sense of like, there's a community of people like this. And it's so weird at 11 years old to be thinking like this, but I remember this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to commit right now. I'm going to help other people that have been through this. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew that I was going to be either a role model for them, a leader for them, or I was going to do something to help them. And whether it was school, business, sports, whatever it is, I always was the hustler, man. I went after it. I gave the most effort. And I always refer back to that. So in my business life, as I've progressed into my business life and grown our businesses, anytime times get tough or things are going great, but I don't want to get complacent and I want to take it to the next level, I always refer back to that moment in my life. There's other moments as well, but that's the shining one. And I ask myself, what are you made of, man? What have you been through? Look what you've been through. And the other thing is, Paul, I don't want to let him win.
I hear you. And I think it's so inspiring, not just the story and what you've been able to do the last 31 years, but using that as an example is that could have crushed you and you could have used that as an excuse the rest of your life, right? Or you could have used it as fuel to get to where you are today. And one caveat to the whole thing, when you mentioned a waterbed, I totally forgot about waterbeds till you mentioned that. It's like, then I'm thinking, do they even sell those things anymore? But back in the day, those were the things. So that's kind of the start of your journey. And now obviously you focus on allowing and enabling and empowering other people to take their past, good and bad, and inspire them while also doing the same with you and inspiring people. So let's dive into that. You're really good at sales. Obviously, you're good at motivation and inspiration. That's what you do. That's what C-Roc does. How are they so tightly connected? Because me just looking at those words, it's like, those don't necessarily make sense. But how do you believe with your mission, how are they so tightly connected?
Well, first of all, in sales is a grind, right? Sales can be a grind. There's ups and downs. And I always refer back to what can keep me driving through the grinding times, the tough times. What can I find that give me that extra push? And that's what I always refer back to. So the inspiration is very important. Keep your mind right. Anybody that studied sales, the old Zig Ziglar stuff and Tom Hopkins and even Grant Cardone, you talk about, if you're in a car a lot in sales, listen to motivational things, listen to training. They want to keep your mind right because it's a hard thing, because in sales, the majority of the time you're getting a no and you're getting rejection. So you got to build yourself up and then basically build up a crust to rejection and not let it affect you emotionally. So I combine all those three things with that. And Paul, what happened was I was in I don't think I've told this story many times, maybe not at all, but I was in in-home sales in 1998. I would drive around the eastern shore of Maryland, Delaware, Virginia. They call it the Delmarva Peninsula. And I would go into houses and spend 2 to 3 hours with people and sell them water treatment systems. And we would have to close the deal that night because nobody would buy if you left without the deal. And you would sell sometimes, and then you go and think, man, I got a deal. And you go out and celebrate that night. The next morning they would call and cancel because they had a 3-day right of rescission. So I did that for 9 years, man. I grinded. Every day I was on the road from 9 in the morning till 9, 10 o'clock at night, driving to houses, driving to trailers that probably shouldn't even have been buying something like that. And just being through all that, that's part of what I'm made of. That really built character It built how to negotiate and sell people, how to show them benefits. It built a lot of character. And so I went through all that. And in those days, I guess I was in my 20s. Yeah, probably early to mid 20s. I studied sales constantly. I studied motivation and inspiration. Didn't realize I was going to use it to help other people at that moment. I was just trying to get through myself. And so that's where I've been and where my sales career started. And then from there, got into real estate and mortgages and just started building people. I used real estate and mortgages not as my business, not as a career. I look at it as that's my vehicle to build people. So
I love it. No, and I think when you're able to use that as motivation instead of, as kind of like, oh man, 100 people said no again today. I mean, I remember starting my first business. I called every one of my potential customers and they said, they don't necessarily tell you no, like, oh, they're not here right now. Oh, they're in a meeting. Oh yeah, let's take a message. They'll call you back. But that's, short term, that's no. And he's like, well, this doesn't work. I'm going back to a job or, whatever. This isn't made for me. Those other people are lucky. But when you use that as motivation, inspiration, while also, I really like your concept of when you do have that downtime. For anybody out there listening, I know you're all busy, but if you do have that downtime, whether you're in the car, whether you're, even working, listening to something motivating, back in the day, Zig Ziglar, it's still relevant today, or anything else out there that will get you going, is really inspiring from just using your story. So you've had a lot of setbacks along the way, probably even before you were 11, before you were 8, all the way up until you're now. A lot of our listeners have the same thing. They're business owners. They felt rejection. People doubted them. All the things that go with and taking these risks and being a business owner, and then going out and having to sell your business that you thought was the best idea, and now no one else thinks it's a good idea. What's your advice for others to recover and rebound? That's really what you focus on. So what are some of the things that they can do, some good actionable advice for them?
So first of all, I wrote a blog a month or so ago. I put it on my site, by the way, themikeciorroc.com with no K, themikeciorroc.com. On there, you'll find my blog and my podcast. There's important things on there. I've wrote things that I've been through. And one of the things I wrote about was the journey is invisible. When you see successful people or people that you think made it, you don't see their journey and you don't see the stuff that they've been through and the setbacks and the roadblocks and the things that they busted through. And that's a problem for me because people see the success and then they try to go after it. They run into a roadblock or setback and then they give up because they think, well, so-and-so had that success and they didn't have it. I'm not supposed to be in this situation. I don't think I should keep pushing through. I don't think I should keep spending money and resources on this because I'm having this setback. So I'm on a mission with this as well, Paul, to make sure that people understand what I'm going through and what I've been through so they can see the journey leading up to where I'm going. Now I've had some success, but I'm nowhere close to where I'm going. So, but that's all relative, right? So I want to share these journeys with people. Now I had a setback back in about 2 years ago. I was working in a mortgage company for 12 years, gave my heart and soul to it, built it up. We had probably 5 or 6 branches at that time. And come to find out the owner started skimming and being dishonest and money was not where it was supposed to be. And at that moment, the culture of the company was terrible. It started falling apart. And I had 22 employees at that moment that were left, 3 branches. I had to pick up and move to a new company because of one individual. Now, I blamed him for a while, but I live in an environment right now of 100% responsibility. So I started to look, and when things changed for us, I started to think about what did I have to do with that? What could I have done differently to avoid what happened? Despite the fact, if anybody on the outside was watching, they would know that guy was just he was the issue. But for me to have control and not give control to that person, I had to take responsibility. So I looked back and saw how I got complacent and comfortable during those times. I let the culture go of our group, not the whole company, and didn't put my foot down in certain times when I felt that I believed in something. So I learned a lot from that. I took responsibility for that. And the next time we went to a new company at Nations Lending, which is a mortgage company I run a division of in the Mid-Atlantic region, we help people with home loans. We started with culture as our foundation. And anybody that didn't get on board with what we were doing, we let them go. We gave them an opportunity to leave. That's important. And we said we would do it ourselves if we had to. And then we would start adding people that buy into our culture and build that foundation from there. So piece of advice as far as from setbacks. One, you're not the only one that has a setback. You're not the only one that has roadblocks. We all go through it. You're not the only one with sleepless nights. During that period, by the way, Paul, I've shared this maybe one or two other times. I broke down 2017, 22 people's employees have worked for me. I had them on my shoulders. I had to move them to a new company. They're looking at me like, now what? What do we do now? And I felt like I had the weight of the world on my shoulders. Their families relied on them. They relied on me. And I had to figure something out. And that pressure got to me. So you're not the only one that might have a breakdown. I was in my kitchen. Matter of fact, I'm sitting in my dining room right now because I'm waiting for my studio to be finished. I was sitting in my kitchen with my wife, and I broke down in front of my wife, which I've never done before because the pressure got to me. So you're not the only one. If you're a business owner or an entrepreneur going through things, feeling like that you just can't get through, you just feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. You're not the only one that's been there. And the people that have been there, there's successful people out there that have made it and are still making it, that have gone through that same situation.
So true. And I think, the thing that probably jades most of it now is social media is, people always share the wins. Oh, look how great I am. I'm making 7 figures. Oh, look at my new beach house, whatever it is. They're sharing all that without sharing all the backstory to it. So then, like you said, we're comparing maybe the beginning of our journey to someone's destination. It's like, well, shoot, look how lucky they are. I'll never get there. Or man, I've had a couple setbacks. I'm going to go try something else. They're just lucky, or I'm just me, or whatever. I think it's so important, like you said, to start really understanding everybody's story, and for more people to share their story, to realize, hey, you're not alone. Let's go in this thing together. Let's go into battle together. And then the second thing that I really want to focus on, next part of the conversation, is culture, because it is so important. You just said when we picked up and moved, that was the first thing we focused on. Now, most business owners, they bootstrap their business. They don't have any employees. They don't really have a culture. Their culture is I show up, I work, I go home, and I get paid.
Yep.
But then they start to build a team. And sometimes they don't know how to build a culture, even though it is so important. I run into many business owners like, I don't know, it's his job to do it. Why do I need to build a culture? Like, he's getting paid, but we need culture more than anything else. What are some tips or some things that you found worked when you picked up your team, said, okay, 22 folks, we're going to make this happen. This is where we're starting. What are some of the things that you found really worked well?
Again, I have a fantastic culture where we work now. And I will take responsibility for that. It's blood, sweat, and tears to get it put in place. So, but I've been places as well where we didn't. And it was on me in the past as well. So I've been both places. But very, very, very simply, I like to break things down and make them simple and not overcomplicate things. Number one, you have to have a vision. You have to state a vision, your vision, and then get people to buy into that vision with you. But you got to share it with them first. And you got to let them know that, hey, this is the vision of our company. This is where we're going to go. And the people that are on board here with us are going to do it, or they're going to go find someplace else to work. And I'm okay with that because I'll do it by myself. And that's another blog I wrote about, rooftop leadership. Check that out. I'll do it by myself until you come aboard, or I find the people that will. And you got to be willing to do that. Too many people are scared that if they find an employee, they're so thankful to have an employee or a producer that they don't want to lay the law down as far as their vision and goals. You got to be willing to do that and not be held over a barrel. And that is something that I've learned because for the years I put up with a lot of bad attitudes and things just because they produced a little bit. Learned my lesson from there. So setting big goals, big visions, and let people buy in, and the people that don't buy in, let them go somewhere else. And don't have any emotion tied to it. Just say, yeah, listen, I'll give you a recommendation somewhere else. I'll refer you to someone and let them know that you're not buying into big visions and goals. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you got to live that every day. Well, no, that's the first thing. You got to live that every day. Second thing is gratitude. We practice gratitude big time. Now, I preach this all the time to our people. I think that they should have gratitude every morning when they wake up. But we in our company have a sales meeting once a week on Mondays. We start the sales meeting with a gratitude exercise. And what we do is we go around the group. They can say a name of a person from the previous week that's gone above and beyond and thank them for what they did. And nobody can repeat the same task that happened. And we go through the whole group. It takes time out of our sales meeting. It takes time out of our day. But that time that we invest in that has done wonders. So we thank each other because I've had processors before that didn't feel appreciated by the loan officers and the management. And they would tell me, I don't feel appreciated. I'm doing this. I'm going out of my way for this. And they're making all the money, the producers. And then we'd have some animosity there. And this has solved all that. And when I implemented it, I thought it was a little corny because we do it at Thanksgiving with the kids and the kids never want to do it. Gratitude exercise, this and that. But the next week we had it, some of the employees were thanking me for implementing it, which told me we hit the nail on the head with that one. So that's number 2, gratitude. Number 3, unlimited income potential. Everybody that works with me has unlimited income potential. It's up to them. Because what we did was we got everybody on what we call the Just Ask campaign. They ask for business. Everybody they talk to, even if they're not a producer, even if they're not a licensed loan officer, they're asking for business. They're checking with people to see if they need any honest help with mortgages or home loans. And what that has done is our processors are now bringing in business, bringing in revenue to the company to help pay their salary, but they're also making money on top of their salary. And we're very transparent when it comes to money. The loan officers make an X amount of dollars and the processors know how much they make. They can make that much if they want to. They just have to sell loans. They have to bring loans in the door, get licensed to make the big money. And they've done it. And I had a processor the other day make $11,000 in commission over top of her regular pay, which she does very well with the regular pay, but she made $11,000 on top of that. That's life-changing money for her and her family. And that changes the culture. So, and again, it's a win-win situation. It helps the company.
That's
so
awesome.
That's it. Number 4 is accountability. And that ties into what I already told you about the vision you state with people. And then you find out if they're really involved, on board with it. And then you hold them accountable to it. And we have group accountability where the whole group, everybody mans up and womans up and calls people out. If they're not stepping up, doing what they're supposed to be doing, the activities and the exercises that we do throughout our company, they get called out. And then just say, listen, I care about you. I know what it takes to be successful here. Why didn't you do this? Because I'm doing it. Everybody else is doing it. Why didn't you do this? And we all look out for each other and we know where we're coming from with it. So nobody gets upset because they know the person that's calling them out cares about them. So and also we check stats like hourly on how many credit pulls are going, how many calls are going out. We have a leaderboard that we put out all the time. And it's just something that I didn't do I got away from years ago and stupid me. Won't happen again.
Well, that's how we learn, by doing things that, over the course of time, we realized wasn't working or it turned into different results. But just going to recap those. I wrote them down myself. I think they're great for any business owner out there. As you build a team, you got to have a vision. They need to know where the ship is going, where they can fit in, where the opportunities are, and how we're going to get there. And then the gratitude is so important. And like you said, you need everybody on that team doing what they're supposed to do. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what the leader's doing if the other people aren't producing, and vice versa. So being grateful and appreciative of everybody on the team. No job is more important than the other. And then unlimited income potential. I really love the concept of saying, hey, you want to make X amount of dollars? Here's how you can do it. Now you just have to go execute. So you're not capping them. They're capping themselves if they don't go where they really want to go. So really giving them ownership, not only of their job, but really of the vision as well. And then accountability. And really what I take away from that is building the team culture. So really building an environment where, hey, if we're playing basketball, the point guard's got to do what they're supposed to do. And hey, point guard, why aren't you doing that? Or if you look at the New England Patriots, you might hate them if you're in Maryland, but they do it better than anybody else. And if you're not accountable, you're gone. Like, I don't care who you are or how good you can produce. If you're not bought into the team culture and holding each other accountable, you got to go. And then the leaderboard concepts. I love the idea of really gamifying anything, because then it's a friendly competition. Oh, C-Roc's on top. Hey, C-Roc, how did you get to the top? I want to learn from you. And it moves everybody up. So that's really exciting. How you do that. Great actionable advice for anybody out there that even if you don't have a team now, start putting these things in place now so that when you do start to bring on a team, the culture is already going to be building instead of building it in reverse, which Mike had to do, which obviously takes a little bit more time because then you got to weed out a lot of people, and kind of start over. But if you can start from the foundation now, it's really exciting. So bringing that back to using our experiences as an advantage, I want to hit on that one more time before it's time to call it a day. A lot of people, like you said, they don't share their story or they use it as a disadvantage. How can we start using our experience as an advantage, no matter what kind of experience it was, good or bad? What are some good ways that we can kind of tap into that, maybe become a little bit more vulnerable and start making things happen?
So first of all, you have to get in a quiet place and spend some time and invest some time into this. and really, maybe journal. I journal a lot. I have a phone app called Daybook. It's free app. I don't make any money off of it, but I actually pull it up. I'll journal in it anytime things come to my mind. But sometimes I'll just get in a quiet place and then I'll start writing things that have happened in my past and just thinking about how I can use those. And really, you're basically auditing your past. And a lot of people say, yeah, don't look at your past. Look forward. Be present. The reason that you have to is that's what you're made of, right? It's where you have been formulated. So get in a quiet place, basically audit your past a little bit. Look for experiences that you can pull from, whether it's good or bad. It can be good or bad because there's some good experiences in my life. By the way, this is something I got from Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't make his high school basketball team. There was a guy that beat him out. I don't know the guy's name. Michael Jordan invited that guy to his Hall of Fame induction ceremony and told him that he's the reason that he's successful because Michael Jordan referred back to that guy in his mind every time he went through a tough time, every time he got injured, when he won championships, as soon as he won the championship, to go train the next day to win the next championship, he referred back to that guy, that memory of that guy beating him out on the high school basketball team. And so these are things that I've picked up from successful people that I've watched and use them for myself. And Tom Brady, you mentioned Tom Brady, he has one as well. But just do an audit, find some experiences in your life, good or bad, and figure out how you can use those and what you've learned from those things because you didn't die from them, hopefully, because you're still looking back. And take it to the point where you know that you made it through it and celebrate it as a victory if it's a bad thing. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, and I think it's great. And I like sports, so using those sports analogies too, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady. Tom Brady only played like 1 year at Michigan because Drew Henson was the man, or so they thought. So he was back up there,
Yep.
But using that as motivation to be like, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to not quit, is really inspiring. And then to be able to do that when you build teams. So now not only you're doing it for yourself, but now you're inspiring other people, which just takes it to the whole next level. So we started today's show with your definition of ultimate freedom. How do you make sure you continue to achieve that? What are some guardrails that you have in place just to kind of keep you, focused on your vision and making sure you're still going where you want to go?
So every day, first of all, I write my goals down every morning. Some people do them like yearly, annually, quarterly, whatever. I do them every day. So I revisit what I'm trying to do and remind myself of where I'm going. But at the end of the day, and all my people do this as well, we do it as a group. All the producers will email each other their activity journal of what they accomplished that day, what they did that day, what results they got from that day, to remind themselves what they did, what they didn't do, and if they got off track. So at the end of every day, you basically reflect and correct and make sure that you're on track to where you want to be. If you wait till the week's over to do it, it's too late. A month, sometimes people don't analyze things for a month or a quarter, but you got to do it. Matter of fact, I do it throughout the day. Like I make sure I have a calendar I look at every 5-10 minutes. I look at the calendar, make sure that I'm on schedule to what I need to do. And one of the guys, I'll share this with you. One of my employees that's a producer I always call them out. If they don't put their activity journals out to email for the group, I call them out. Hey guys, what's going on with these activity emails? What's going on? And they get it. Some of them get frustrated with it. They get a little bit defensive about it. And the reason they're doing that, Paul, is because they know that they came up short that day. They're not mad at me for calling them out. They're really mad at themselves because they didn't uphold their end of the bargain. So it comes out on me, and I understand that. So I don't take personal at all. Last night, one of them emailed me and said, "Where's your activity journal? You really should put yours out." And I said, "Oh, are you serious?" And I would question mark. He said, "Yeah, I want to know what you do too." I said, "All right, great." I put it out. My day starts at 4:30 in the morning, and I didn't get to bed and lay into bed until 9:30 at night. And that whole day, there was no downtime. And I listed, 15. No, it was probably, lots of things that happened that day. And when he got it, I said, "Did you have any questions about the email I sent back to you?" And he's like, "No, it's very detailed." He said, "You should share that with the group." And I said, "I can't, because it's a lose-lose situation because they don't understand everything that I'm doing and why I'm doing it for the business. And then there's some meetings that I have that I can't share with every employee. It's not privy to them. So that would be left off and it would look bare. So it's a lose-lose situation. But I told him, if you ever want to come shadow me for a day, come on, brother. Come on, and make sure you bring your protein shake and your energy drink and everything else." So.
Yeah. And that is, it's such a great exercise. to be honest, I do it weekly. So I have my little red journal here. I write in once a week, what I did, what I won, some accomplishments, things should have done better, whatever it is. But now you've kind of inspired me to do it every day. Because my schedule is pretty much the same. I get up at 4 and I'm in bed by 9, but from 4 until 9, it's kind of go, go, go. Doing things I enjoy doing, not like, I got to go sit here and talk to C-Roc, or I got to do this. So I don't want people to think I'm working like 17 hours a day. I'm not. Spending some time with family, taking my daughter to school, doing all those things. But being able to just, sometimes we beat up ourselves so much for things that we didn't do, or I didn't have any good thing happen today. And then you start doing these exercises like, oh, I actually did a lot of good things today. It's just this one thing might have overshadowed it, or vice versa. So really, really excited that you did share that with us. So what is next for you and what you're going on? How are you going to plan to continue to inspire people? I know you referenced a book. What do you got going on? What can we be on the lookout for?
So I'm in the process of writing a book called What Are You Made Of? And it's going to take a little bit of time. I'm waiting on a couple events to happen so that I can really wrap it up. But I have a podcast that's just out now this past month. It's 4 or 5 episodes out called What Are You Made Of? It starts with me telling my story, and then I'm bringing guests on to tell their stories. Fired up about that. I have a private Facebook group on there. If any of your listeners want to join the What Are You Made Of with Mike C-Roc Facebook group, I'll let them in. I put a bunch of videos on there. I put content on there, and then other people are sharing their stories. And social media, Instagram, I'm all over the place. Mikey C-Roc, at Mikey C-Roc on Instagram. And just if you get involved with my environment, I'm going to keep you in there because I'm going to provide so much content that's going to keep you going. And that's my goal, is to, once people get in, to keep them in there, to keep filling their heads with good stuff. And then I'm just going to continue to offer as much as I can value to people and help them out as much as I can. And by the way, Nations Lending is the company I work for. If you know anybody buying or selling a home that needs some help, honest help with financing, we're here to help. Great company, great culture. So
there you go. And it's funny you mentioned that about the content you put out and bringing people in your circle. You and I never actually physically spoke before this interview, but once you booked your time on the show, started following you on social media, and I felt like I already knew you because you are doing exactly what you just said you will do, is kind of keep you in the circle, keep people inspired, motivating, giving away everything, and really sharing your story, which I think that is the key, because most people don't, as you said. So really excited to watch your continued growth. Really excited for that book to come out. We'll link up everything when the show is over. Really appreciate coming on the show today, sharing your journey, providing actual advice for our listeners. Before we let you go, give our listeners one last parting piece of advice to help them get to the next level in their pursuit of ultimate freedom.
I'm going to do 2 anyway, even though you said 1. Real quick.
Do it.
If you're a small business and you only have yourself or one other people, start adding people and hire somebody before you think you need them or can afford them, and watch what happens. I want to hear back. And number 2, get uncomfortable. Because if you start getting complacent and comfortable, I go through sometimes. I'm normal. I go through ruts sometimes. And recently I started forcing myself to get uncomfortable. I hired a trainer, which I've already worked out. I know what I'm doing, but I just got a guy that's in my face, man, constantly on me and making me uncomfortable. So that's my piece of advice. Get uncomfortable, especially if you start to get into a little bit of a rut, or you start to feel too comfortable and complacent. Watch what happens, man. It's magic. It really is.
Well said. And yes, agree totally on both fronts. Start building a team, get uncomfortable, get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's really the only way you're going to push yourself to get to where you really want to go. C-Roc, thank you again so much for taking time out of your day to impart some of your knowledge, wisdom, and enthusiasm to our community. Hopefully this helps everyone out there get one step closer to achieving ultimate freedom in their business and in life. But before we sign off, where can our listeners go to keep in touch with you, hang out with you, learn more about what you got going on?
Facebook or Instagram. That's the best places to find me.
There you go. Mike C-Roc. I'm not even going to try and spell his last name or pronounce it. Just look for Mike C-Roc or go to themikecroc.com. Or if you're thinking about spelling it, it's just the Mike Croc. Looks like C-R-O-C. Mike, thank you again for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul, for having me. I appreciate it, man. Enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you so much. All the listeners out there, if you enjoyed the episode and you're not subscribed, do yourself a super quick favor. Hit that subscribe button so you can receive all the future episodes without having to think about it. Thank you so much to everyone who does do this. It helps me know you're listening. So 1, I can keep putting on the show for you. But 2, most importantly, bringing on great guests like Mike. Until next time, remember, what got you here won't get you there. Get started and make it happen.
Thank you for being a part of the What Are You Made Of podcast. So that you don't miss future episodes, please rate and subscribe to the What Are You Made Of podcast on your favorite listening or viewing apps, and follow me on your favorite social media platforms. I would love to hear your stories and past experiences and engage with you further.